You know the Celestial Toymaker, right? That incredibly important villain in Doctor Who's history, and yeah, alright, listen, I'm not going to blame you if you don't, but funnily enough, they are an incredibly important villain in Doctor Who's history, and they are returning in the form of Neil Patrick Harris. But what are they? Who are they? Let's take a dive. I'm Sean Ferrick for Who Culture, and here are 10 things you didn't know about the Toymaker. Number 10. He almost came back multiple times. The first attempt to bring back the Toymaker was in a story outline pitched by his creator, writer Brian Hales. In 1975, Hales pitched a story called The Eyes of Nemesis for Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor. Weirdly, the Toymaker was revealed late in the story outline, only pitting him against the Doctor in the final episode. This idea was rejected. A decade later, the 1980s showrunner John Nathan Turner planned to bring Michael Gough back as the Toymaker for season 23. A script was written by former producer Graham Williams, which would have pitted the Sixth Doctor and Perry against the Toymaker in an arcade in Blackpool. Doctor Who's 18-month hiatus killed this plan, however, with Jonathan Nathan Turner deciding to completely redraft his plans for season 23. This story was later novelised as The Nightmare Fair before being adapted as a Big Finish audio adventure in 2009. Years later, Nathan Turner suggested bringing back the Toymaker in a straight-to-home movie for the video market. He even considered using the villain in what would eventually become 1993's EastEnders crossover Dimensions in Time. Toymaker might have dodged a bullet on that one. Number 9. He has a sister. Brian Hales later wrote The Queen of Time, an unmade second Doctor serial that would have introduced the Toymaker's half-sister, Hecuba, the so-called Queen of Time, who had mastery over time in the same way that Toymaker has mastery over reality. She used those gifts to pluck unwitting people from across time and space as dinner guests and potential players over temporal games. In Hales' story outline, Jamie and Zoe are forced to play various games, including times and clocks, much like Stephen and Dodo in the Celestial Toymaker. Meanwhile, rather than the Toymaker wanting to keep the Doctor as a worthy opponent, Hecuba wants him as her husband. It's hilarious to imagine Patrick Troughton's second Doctor being lusted after by the Queen of Time herself, although, arguably, as the 11th Doctor and River Song, Matt Smith and Alex Kingston provide a pretty good estimation of what that would look like. Hales' outline was rejected, presumably due to the similarities with the Celestial Toymaker. The writer would have much greater success in the Troughton era when he created the Ice Warriors. Number 8. He was married to Doctor Who's Polly. The first Toymaker was played by Michael Gough, best known as Alfred Pennyworth in the 90s Batman movies, and of course the 89 movie. He was Batman's loyal butler opposite Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer and George Clooney. Not a bad resume, eh? Even back in 1966, Gough was a well-known actor of film and television who would have been a big draw for viewers. Of course, he also returned to Doctor Who in 1983 in the far less memorable role of Time Lord Hedden in Arc of Infinity. But the Celestial Toymaker and Arc of Infinity aren't the only connections between Gough and the Whoniverse. Between 1962 and 1979, he was married to Annika Wills, who joined the show as companion Polly Wright a few months after the Celestial Toymaker aired. The couple met on the set of the film Candidate for Murder and remained together for 17 years. Gough adopted Wills' daughter, who, coincidentally, was also named Polly. Polly believed that Gough was her biological father until her tragic death in 1982. Number 7. He was intended to be a Time Lord. In the age of 15 Doctors and the Timeless Child, it's worth remembering that in 1966, very little was known about the Doctor's backstory. Viewers had met the meddling monk in the 1965 serial, The Time Meddler, but the names Gallifrey and Time Lord were still alien. To that end, script editor Donald Tosh had intended to make the Toymaker another member of the Doctor's race. The Doctor knows the Toymaker by name and reputation in the serial, warning Dodo and Stephen about the villain's predilection for turning people into playthings. The Doctor's knowledge of the Toymaker could be because that's the sort of thing an intergalactic traveler would know, or it could be that he knows about him because they were at the Time Lord Academy together. The Toymaker was never confirmed to be one of the Doctor's own people in the serial, but the intention was certainly there. Perhaps Russell T Davies could make good on this promise in the Giggle. Number 6. The Trilogic game cursed Peter Purves. The Celestial Toymaker was one of Peter Purves' last serials as companion Stephen Taylor. After it finished filming, the actor came into the possession of the Trilogic game prop, the challenge set by the Toymaker to test the first Doctor, who played a key role in the serial. With Hartnell invisible for most of the story, it was down to Purves to lead it. This was good news for the actor, as he felt that Stephen had often been sidelined during his time on Doctor Who, but unfortunately for Purves, he was further sidelined when he left the show a few serials later. He didn't work for a year and a half after his last day on Doctor Who, and he came to blame the Toymaker's cursed game for his bad luck. A day after disposing of the Trilogic prop, Purves was offered a job on Z-Cars and then the presenter role on Blue Peter. While it's surely a cosmic coincidence, this sudden change of fate was enough to convince Purves that the Trilogic game was cursed. Number 5. The Celestial Toymaker was almost a regeneration story. The Celestial Toymaker was the 7th serial in William Hartnell's final Doctor Who season. By this time, Hartnell's relationship with the new production team was strained and his own health was failing. Producer John Wiles and script editor Donald Tosh considered replacing him with another actor. In the original plan, the Toymaker would have changed the Doctor's appearance, facilitating the casting of a new lead. Something similar was done to cover Fraser Hines' absence in The Mind Robber, with the second Doctor choosing the wrong facial features when reconstructing a cardboard Jamie. 57 years later, and the Toymaker may well be responsible for the 13th Doctor's change of appearance. Did this trickster give the Doctor their old face back? Will the 14th Doctor's regeneration be triggered by the machinations of the Toymaker? With a being of such cosmic power and a showrunner like Russell T Davies, anything is possible. Number 4. The Toymaker's flashbacks were the first ones ever. Despite what the Daleks in colour may suggest, it's actually 1966's The Celestial Toymaker that's the first Doctor Who serial to feature flashback sequences. In the serial's first episode, the Toymaker uses a memory window to try and dominate the minds of the Doctor's companions, Stephen and Dodo. This reveals some of Dodo's slight backstory. The script reveals that her mother died when she was still in school, as she sees a sad schoolgirl in the Toymaker's memory window, forcing the Doctor to drag her vision away. The memory window also displays footage from the Daleks' master plan and the massacre, as Stephen sees himself on both the jungle planet Kemble and in 16th century Paris. This was the first time that Doctor Who deployed footage from earlier adventures. The irony being that all the stories in question no longer fully exist in the BBC archives. If only someone had an elderly Doctor Who fan and a memory window hooked up to a VCR. Number 3. He had an epic showdown with the 8th Doctor. After the 1996 TV movie failed to lead to a series, Paul McGann's 8th Doctor set a course for the multimedia landscape of the late 1990s. As well as a series of BBC books and eventual Big Finish audio dramas, there was also a mini Doctor Who comic strip in the Radio Times. However, for a generation of 90s Doctor Who fans, the 8th Doctor's adventures began in the Doctor Who magazine comic strip. The first story, Endgame, featured the 8th Doctor facing off against the Toymaker in another series of games and challenges. Written by Alan Barnes and full of so much memorable imagery, it's an epic start to the 8th Doctor's comic book adventures. It also features a terrifying marionette Doctor that does battle with McGann in the story's climax. With Doctor Who Weekly's The Star Beast being adapted for the first 60th anniversary special, it'll be interesting to see if RTD adapts elements of this classic comic strip for the Giggle. Marionettes and puppetry was hinted at in the trailer after all. Number 2. He's only the 3rd Hartnell-era villain to return. Of all the strange creatures in the first era of Doctor Who, only the Daleks and the Cybermen have come back in the modern era. This means that the Toymaker is in very good company, and could even take his place among those top-tier baddies as a recurring villain in the new era. It's interesting to ponder why so many First Doctor villains haven't come back, especially as Russell T Davies' first Doctor Who era brought back the bloody Macra. The Sensorites and the Dravens have been name-checked since 2005, but they've never actually appeared on screen. One possible reason is that a lot of Hartnell villains were historical characters due to the show's early commitment to educating as well as entertaining. Another possibility is that Davies and his successors, who are now also his predecessors, timey-wimey, felt that monsters like the Zarbi, the Monoids, or the Vord wouldn't work in modern Doctor Who. Cowards. Number 1, he's not actually called the Celestial Toymaker. Inevitably, there will be comments that Neil Patrick Harris's character has been renamed due to Celestial being a racist term for a person of Chinese descent. This isn't the case, as the character has always been referred to as just the Toymaker. The Celestial Toymaker is the overall name of the 1966 serial, not the actual character. While the Doctor does say the Celestial Toymaker, the actual script reveals that it's with a small c. This means that the Doctor is referring to the Toymaker's origins in the stars rather than his actual title. Dodo then asks, who is the Celestial Toymaker? But she's clearly made the same misunderstanding that many others have since 1966. Script editor Donald Tosh always referred to the character as the Toymaker, omitting the C word entirely. Gone too are the Oriental-style robes that have added to the Celestial Toymaker's uncomfortable reputation. In bringing the character back in 2023, Davies will move the Toymaker on from his problematic legacy and give us a memorable villain that lives up to the character's modern-day potential. That is it for our list. Thank you so much for watching along. You are awesome, you are wonderful. Remember, you can follow us over on Twitter at WhoCulture, same on Instagram, same on TikTok. I am Sean Ferrick. You can follow me at Sean Ferrick on the various socials. Thank you so much to the wonderful Mark Donaldson for writing the article this video is based on, and thank you so much to James for editing it to make it look pretty. I hope you're enjoying the specials. I know I am. Keep things wibbly wobbly. Thanks very much.